behind the death of Michael Jackson. The most successful pop star in the history of the world is Michael Jackson. It is hard to mention the man's name without bringing to mind a number of occurrences in his life that were not as favorable as his talent. This is a fact that cannot be avoided. On the other hand, for the purposes of our investigation, we are going to concentrate on the circumstances surrounding the artist's demise, which occurred when he was 50 years old. The day he died. In 2009, on June 25th, Jackson passed away. It was reported all across the world that he had passed away, which resulted in a significant lawsuit being filed against his physician and, for a period of time, increased record sales. It goes without saying that Michael Jackson is most certainly the most successful recording artist of all time. His moonwalk, record sales, and dancing moves all contribute to his success. There was no other person who had the same level of influence during his career, which spanned 4 decades and began with him as a kid singing star with the Jackson 5. His brothers Tito, Jermaine, Jackie, and Marlon were all members of the Jackson 5, which he was a member of. 1971 marked the beginning of his solo career with Motown Records, after which he parted ways with the group. His album, Off the Wall, which was released in 1979, was a huge success and served as a precursor to subsequent albums such as Thriller in 1982, Bad in 1987, and Dangerous in 1991. Today, Thriller continues to be the album that has sold the most copies of any other album in history, and the music video for the song, which was released about 40 years ago, has had close to 1 billion views. Not to mention the fact that Bad was the first album to deliver 5 singles that reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Jackson, who had a career that included the sale of more than 400 million albums and the receipt of 15 Grammy Awards, passed away when he was in the process of preparing for his This Is It comeback tour, which was scheduled to begin in London in only 3 weeks. An overdose of the medicine propofol, which was administered to him by his personal physician, Conrad Murray, is said to have been the cause of his death, as stated in the reports. Due to the fact that Murray was responsible for Jackson's death, he was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in 2011 and received a sentence of 4 years in prison. Despite the fact that Jackson was taking other drugs at the time of his death, the official cause of death for Jackson was a cardiac arrest, which was brought on by an overdose of the prescribed sedative propofol. Murray had been helping Jackson get to sleep for a long time by administering the medications. They began cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, as soon as the paramedics arrived at 12:25 p.m. Despite the fact that they continued to attempt to bring Jackson back to life as he was being transported to the hospital, they were eventually unsuccessful. It was 2 hours after the arrival of the paramedics that he was said to have passed away. The aftermath. As the news of his passing spread throughout the world, numerous websites, including Google and Wikipedia, experienced a slowdown or even a complete crash due to the high level of user interest. It has been stated that there was an increase of 11 to 20% in the overall global online traffic. The videos of his were broadcast non-stop on music stations such as MTV and BET. It was on July 7th that the memorial service for the artist was held in the Staples Center in Los Angeles, which is now known as Crypto. Arena. There were approximately 1.6 million people who submitted applications for tickets. More than 2.5 billion people watched the service that was broadcast online while it was being broadcast. Included among those who spoke was Smokey Robinson. Among the performers were Mariah Carey, Jennifer Hudson, and others. In a conversation with Jackson's children, Reverend Al Sharpton said, "Wasn't there anything particularly strange about your father? The things that your father had to cope with were somewhat peculiar, but in spite of that, he dealt with it. After his passing, sales of his songs increased, and Sony Songs negotiated a deal with the artist's estate to continue to distribute his music. The arrangement was worth $250 million after the artist's death, and in 2014, Jackson made history by becoming the first artist in the history of the Billboard Hot 100 to have a single that ranked in the top 10. The first posthumous song that Michael Jackson's estate published was This Is It, which was written in the 1980s with Paul Anka. The song was released in 2009. An outstanding documentary with the same name was also issued by his estate. The documentary was about Michael Jackson's comeback tour, which, of course, never took place. Recent years have also seen the production of a new biopic about Michael Jackson, which is currently being titled Michael. Jaffer Jackson, who is the son of Michael Jackson's brother Jermaine, will play the lead role. According to a report from Deadline, the film will not shy away from the controversies of Jackson's life.